Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you for joining uh, the bayan on the Wayfarer's Path, in which we talk about how to maintain full semblance of uh, uh, of one's deen while navigating the modern world. A modern world that is becoming increasingly haywire and haphazard. Um, the news is increasingly gaining the abilities to suck one in. um with rapid fire updates of events and events that are happening so fast that they're providing more than enough content for in the news to take on attributes of social media, right? Attributes of a uh, feed where regular scrolling will give you new information that will keep you titillated and glued to your screen. Um, that's to be expected. We're moving closer and closer towards Qurb Qayamat. When I was younger, I used to have these pain in my legs, right? Growing pains, as they call them. And then my mother would give me this um, dawai, and then Alhamdulillah, the pain would subside, right? And I used to think that thank God I was born in this day and age where I don't have to worry about this pain. If I was born in yesteryear, then God knows what suffering I would have gone through. It used to pain me a lot. So Alhamdulillah, I've been born in this day and age, and how lucky my children will be in that the day and age that they will be born will be with, I don't know, flying saucers and the Jetson style is one of my favorite cartoons. Jetson style flying airplane slash cars. But we know that's not the case. If anything, the closer we're coming to Qurb Qayamat, the more haywire and haphazard the world is becoming. And not to be surprised. Um, we're moving further, and the closer we move to Qiyamah, it means that the further we're going from Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time, a pure time, a time where the Sohbat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed the fate of humankind, right? So, um, but nonetheless, this is nothing to be worried about, really, in the sense that, or rather, one should be worried, but not a cause for despair. In fact, as every self-respecting entrepreneur would say, Silicon Valley style entrepreneur would say, or maybe even a politician, that in every crisis lies an opportunity. So in this time of crisis, where it's becoming harder and harder to maintain one's faith, the reward that one will get for maintaining one's faith has also increased dramatically, right? We know so many hadiths in which the mafhum is that if you follow Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if in my time a Sahaba does not follow 1 part out of 10 of religion, then he will not be able to go to heaven, right? And a time will come where if a believer attains 1 part out of 10 of his faith, then he will attain unto heaven. Now, do I have to say, I thought on that, and it made me think that the 1 out of 10 or the one part adding up to 10 for Sahaba Kram who are like infinite size, right? Isn't it also hadith that the sadqa of my Sahaba, 1 sa, right? One sa is a unit of measurement that was in Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time. It's a mid-sized cup. 1 sa of sadqa is worth more, not 1 time, same, 2 times, more, could be infinitely more, valuable than the sadqa, more than the sadqa that a believer would give after the Sahaba's time, in more than the size of Mount Uhud. right? So even that one part of the Sahaba Ikram is yeah, I think this goes to show it. But nonetheless, despair not. What it's trying to be shown is that um, in this moment of crisis, increased crisis, there is an opportunity in that. Inshallah, if we maintain our faith, then we will attain unto ultimate success, which is to get to attain the true love of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and to attain unto Allah. Now, what's a practical way for that? So I was thinking on it that we're being overwhelmed and bombarded by not just information, but even our desires, in the sense that everyone who's joining over here or who's listening to this podcast generally wishes to attain unto Allah, right? But there's so much that needs to be done, right? So you need to, I mean, where do you start even? You need to know the Quran, you want to know how to do proper prayers, know what is the Shariat, how to implement it practically, how to deal with one's daily, go about in one's daily life and all the mistakes one is making and all the guna potentially one is doing, and how to create antibodies or antidotes against that, how to gain knowledge on tasawwuf, read more books, um, be a good practical husband, wife, father, daughter, son, and so on and so forth, right? So it's very overwhelming. Um, Even from a worldly perspective, right? Especially if you follow social media, you have to be super, super high achieving now, right? 11 A's is not enough. Though I know people who are joining even this this band right now who potentially did get 11 A's and are superstars and have achieved so much, mashallah. But the bar keeps getting raised. So I'm interviewing all these kids for internships at Engro. And I don't know if they're padding their CVs. I don't think they're padding their CVs. I mean, I'm sorry, they're not padding their CVs. They're genuinely uh, doing all the things that they're saying that they're doing in their CVs. In fact, even if they're padding their CVs, then their CVs are also of excellent quality. So kudos to these kids. They're not padding it. Mashallah, they're doing excellently. But even their CVs are like tip top, right? So even the worldly affair, you see that it's becoming such a hamster wheel. But the hamster wheel is going faster and faster. You need to do more and more and more and more. And you just don't know where to start and where to end. You need to do all these different things and to maintain a social life and a personal life and a professional life and health and family. And of course, given our obsession with wealth and status and achievement, everything is sacrificed at the altar of professionalism. So even from a worldly perspective, how to attain in an ever increasingly distracted, fast-paced, turbocharged world. And in that, I think paradoxically, doing less, focusing on just two things, just one even actually, and maybe slowly building up from there. The power of one, if you will, really helps. Focusing on one really helps. Slow and steady really helps win the race, right? And look, there's no hurry in wanting to attain unto Allah. The amazing news is that Allah is looking at efforts. Second great news is we're in a day and time where the reward of even one effort is 50 times what was probably earlier, right? The challenges are all the more greater. So there's that. So keeping this in mind, knowing that, and I'm not just talking about religious life. I'm not talking about religious life. I'm talking about life in general. To situate our understanding, our deen is our way of life, right? Of which you have ibadat, you have practical prayer, you have the prayers, the rituals in the best sense of the words, right? The rituals, our prayers, our five pillars of Islam, then all these different aspects of life that we need to go about, right? But my contention is that it's much harder, but much more durable if we just start focusing on small parts, right? And I'm saying this, so this was my practical experience, right? So I've been noticing a lot, like my desire to improve my namaz, right? I really wanted to, like, my namaz leaves a lot to be desired. And it's in my heart to improve my namaz. And to talk about the confusion, I want to do everything, right? I want to do the Hafiz the Quran, even though I can barely remember a stanza, one verse, even after like 8 days. Um, I want to do all these different tasbihats. I want to remember all these Durood Sharifs. I want to, uh, you know, memorize the hymns in praise of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But I end up doing, like, it all collapses, right? You want to do so much, but it can't happen. So more recently, I've been like, okay, you know what? Let's just focus on one thing, and then namaz, and what better thing than namaz, right? It's the farz, it's so many things which I'm getting to know through this amazing book, Mariful Hadith, by Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Manzoor Numani, Rahmatullah alayhi. So, so I've been reading this book, and I have to say, Subhanallah, because of the muraqbah that we engage in, I feel that because the cleansing that occurs through it, one gains so much more through reading it, right? So it's like I think there's 200 pages on namaz, right? And starting with the importance of namaz, why namaz should be read on time, why namaz should be read properly. So this is just the first 10 or 20 pages I've read. And subhanAllah, like it's had a dramatic impact on me. And I've just been focusing on this, right? Not reading any other book or going somewhere else, but like, you know what? Making a project for the next 1 quarter, 2 quarters to just really focus on my namaz. Maybe it's even a year long I'm going to engage in this. But already I'm seeing like benefits from it. And because I feel because of our path of tasawwuf, the impact is also much greater. There's this one part where the saying of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam goes, where it said basically that people engage in namaz um, with such haste as if, like a hen pecks the seeds. And that really hit me. And again, I think it's because this path that we're on, the impact of every word hits us all the more harder and sits within us. So that's just that I've already started seeing, and then I've ignored everything else. Not because I don't want to do it. I've reduced my tasbihats. Muraqbah is still going, alhamdulillah. That's critical, right? So the foundation is muraqbah, Shariat muraqbah, and then making forays into each line of Shariat to deepen one's understanding of it, right? And I have to say, its impact has been dramatic. So the point being, the power of one, slow and steady, and focus on one thing at a time in an increasingly distracted, confused, dazed world that is seeking to grab our attention from everywhere. Right? I mean, maybe as a mother, one can take lesson from this that, what are the few critical things that I need to do to not just maintain my religion, but how to deal with my child, right? How to do tarbiyah of my child. Do I need to make them amazing swimmers and horse riders and know language from a very young age and to know the duas and surahs from a very young age? Or just, focus on one, two, three things, build a bond with the child and uh, take it from there, right? So now I'm going to relate it to the book that we're reading, right? The World Within by Mufti Muhammad Shafi, Rahmatullah alayhi, who was a Grand Mufti of Pakistan. So the chapter is the essence of tasawwuf and the excesses committed in this regard. And I think you'll see the point of focus, right? The point of focus, plumbing the depths of one's religion, going to depth. In tasawwuf also, right? We have um, length and we have depth. And depth also is critical so that whatever endeavor that we partake in, that we can reap its full benefit. In fact, I think, this approach also of going deep and fixing and then going next going deep, fixing, then going to the next. It's a part of our Naqshbandi silsila also. So there was this Salik who came who had to decide um, which silsila to go into. And he was asked by the Buzurg that, okay, there's this field, okay, this field which is um, like a jungle, and it needs to be tamed, right? It needs to be converted into a beautiful garden or a beautiful farmland. So what's your approach? Are you going to clear out everything, then lay the seeds out everywhere, then put fertilizer all across? Or are you going to take a small part and parcel of the land, clear out a little bit, put the seeds, put fertilizer, nourish it, and then go to the next parcel, and then do it as such? So what's your preference? And he was like, yeah, I'll do the second one. So he's like, okay, you then go to the next one, the silsila. The first one I believe was the Qadri silsila, right? Which is really tough. So thank goodness, it's really tough. The Qadri silsila, the amount of tasbihat that need to be done. I remember seeing these sathis of ours, friends of ours from the Qadri silsila, who were with us at the Etikaf. Oh my God. The exercises these guys were engaged in, spiritual exercises like sajda of God knows how long, and lambi namazein, and they weren't even doing like any tasbihat, which are like legendary. Millions of tasbihat, billions, millions, tens of millions, if not billions of tasbihat. So coming back, it's in the way of this is also the mizaj, the character of the silsila that we're in, Naqshbandi silsila, which is to do a few things, but do them really well, to plumb its depth and to go from there. So what's the essence of tasawwuf and the excesses committed in this regard? So Hazrat starts off this chapter by, again, covering um, the human being. It's it's an amalgamation of the body and the soul, right? Um, and the Sunnah and the Quran addresses both aspects, right? The body, its rights, and the responsibilities towards it, and the soul also, its rights and the responsibilities, and how we have to engage in study and exercise to engage in exercise and practice in order to ensure that both are healthy. So the outward acts of, like, let's say, worship, marriage, divorce, that's related to fiqh and the science of jurisprudence, right? The law, Shariat. But matters of the spirit and soul, like faith, ethics, these are the subjects of the subject of aqaid and tasawwuf, cleansing of the soul, beliefs in spiritualism. Now, what the author is saying, the Shafi Usmani Sahab, Rahmatullah alayh, that these are not different things, but different aspects of the Sunnah and the Quran. ठीक है, so just like you have the different parts of the body, you don't see them in isolation. They're all part and parcel of the whole functioning system. So the existence of one does not exclude the existence of the other, nor does functioning of one cause a malfunctioning of the other. We live in a frightening day and age. I told you about my visit last week, visiting other people, not just visiting other people, but in general also, how Sufism is considered some non-existent part of religion, right? Someone said outlandish, talking about some of the things written in um, the book by Qudratullah Shahab Sahab, right? Which I still have to read. I just can't find English version. If anyone knows an English version, please let me know and send it to me. I'd love to read it. It's only in Urdu. But apparently such outlandish things. And how can these things be possible, right? Um, but why not? Allah can do anything, right? And as long as it doesn't violate the Shariat, it's perfectly possible. So they're treated not only separately, but now Sufism increasingly has become like a non-existent part of religion or a suspected or doubtful part of religion. Na'uzubillah. Considering fiqh and tasawwuf as opponents to each other is like considering one's eyes and ears to be in opposition to each other. So they work part and parcel together. Acha, so now only those noble souls in whom Almighty Allah has united all those teachings of the Holy Quran and Sunnah are in a position to comprehend the reality of the same, and their sayings in this regard are instrumental to appreciate the lofty nature of those teachings. And then the quote is taken of Shah Waliullah Rahmatullah alayh. Shariat without tariqat is mere philosophy, whereas tariqat without shariat amounts to sheer heresy. Right? So namaz without tasawwuf uh, is not just philosophy, it's like going through the motions. I think philosophy is a higher level, but it's just going through the motions, right? Like a dead body that can move, like a pecking hen, right? A namaz that doesn't recognize that this is mirage to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And this cognition comes from tasawwuf, which cleanses our soul, brings our soul closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the extent where one realizes that these bodily motions, because they are in sync or overpowered by the soul, the body realizes that this is turning towards Allah. You turn from a pecking hen to a moment. May Allah give us may Allah make us all attain unto this, inshallah, and more, where we can see Allah in front of us, right? So Shariat without tariqat is mere philosophy or going through the motions, whereas tariqat without Shariat amounts to sheer heresy. Uh, yeah, I suppose, though I think this is much more rare. This thing about I don't need to pray namaz and I'll get to Allah, right? I don't have to do prayers. I'll just do these extra spiritual exercises and outlandish, truly outlandish stuff. I'll get unto Allah. Interestingly, I do think this is just an excuse made by lazy people who, because if you think about it, these more outlandish yogi types are few and far in between, right? How many do you come across who say that, oh, we don't have to pray and we'll just do hocus pocus and get to Allah, right? How many do you come across? And you immediately you're like, these guys are, you know, foolish, they're wrong. And we come across a lot more people who are doing the prayers but are still, not able to follow the essence of religion. Backbiting, gossip, backbiting, wasting time, um, not spending time with family, not being a source of solace and help to other people. You see a lot more of that, in my opinion, talking about myself over here, versus that outlandish hocus pocus. But still, people are like, nah, see, that's Sufi. So I think it's our badbakhti, our loss that we choose to look at it in that way. And the um, um, Maulana Sahib, Mufti Sahib, he goes on to say that Shah Waliullah, through this sentence, is disclosing the reality of those fields of knowledge. How many hypocrites? There's so many scholars out there, non-Muslim scholars, who read the text, read the Quran, read the Hadith, but it doesn't impact them at all, right? They're reading it as a academic exercise. What a dry, just at the surface level um, judgment of it. For my part, what a dry approach, like towards understanding religion, Islam especially. In fact, all religions, right? If you just approach it from a purely academic perspective, I don't. It sounds really arrogant, also, and you just can't attain or imbibe its beauty, right? And even today, there are hundreds of Jews, Christians, atheistic, Orientalists who have studied Islamic science in depth, who have got full knowledge thereof, yet it is nothing but mere philosophy for them, not religion. And it will not become religion for them as long as they do not firmly believe those injunctions to be indeed the truth. As long as they do not abide by the injunctions of the holy law, whether those pertain to inward or outward action. I dare say I'll take a step further even as believers, um, if we don't study it in depth, if we don't cleanse our souls, then we will also just have this approach, right? Surface level, almost philosophy versus waves of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are passing through you, right? Oh, there's a question quickly. I often feel that I worship Allah for things. It's purely a transactional exercise. How do I get out of this? Worship Allah for even more things, right? Say, Allah, I want XYZ, and according to your shan, in fact, give me even more because I can only imagine such. So give me things in this world and the hereafter, uh, based on your magnificence, right? So it's transactional, it's fine, man. It's fine. I mean, what can you give to Allah, right? What can your prayer give to Allah? So do this, inshallah, with this niyat, Ya Allah, I ask all of this. I ask Rolls Royce of you, 5 course meals, top quality, uh, awesome clothes, travel. Give me all of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surprise me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that I may be shocked at your magnificence and the magnificence of all that you give, and I may ask you for more. And Allah's like going to be like, awesome, inshallah, awesome. Here, take some more. And inshallah, you'll get to that level, inshallah, which I'm sure you are already, uh, where it's purely for the sake of Allah, right? And on the contrary, acting contrary to the injunction of Shariat in the name of Tariqat and Tasawwuf is nothing but heresy. So, Hazrat Qazi Sanaullah Panipati has said, no one's soul can be cleansed unless his body is cleansed. So, um, so all the more reason ke tasawwuf, we focus on it, right? So, and I started the example of, so time is almost up. My apologies. Time flies when you're having fun. So look, my point over here, I said the power of one, right? Power of focus, just a few things at a time to help make sense of an increasingly distracted and crazy world, to be able to tether oneself to something. So I think just focusing on a few things will enable us to navigate this world and inshallah attain unto Allah, right? In my case recently, I'm going to focus inshallah more and more on namaz, right? And I think it's a shortcut. So it's a pretty quick shortcut. It's a pretty awesome shortcut to get wherever it is that we as Muslims need to. Because I mean, it's namaz, right? It's miraj to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the moment. And what's going to help us all through that is tasawwuf, right? Okay, the one thing that we focus on through our spiritual exercise, the cleansing of the soul, the noise gets away, the dirt gets away, and it really enables you to focus on, to extract the maximum benefit one can from whatever focused activity that person is planning on. So I think as a Sufi in this day and age, do less but do quality and consistently. And I think that will help you get far. So in closing, lovely participants, choose one or two things going forward. Do it for an extended period of time. Really attain mastery in it. It can be anything, religious, sports, whatever. Children, being the best mother, best father, best sheikh, but best whatever it is, through focusing on just few things, even one thing I would say. Make sure that you have muraqabah to get you through it all. Like that should be the overarching exercise for you to be able to maximally benefit from whatever it is that you will choose. In fact, next week, let me know if it is that something that catches your fancy and is something that you want to do. What is that one thing that you are planning to spend quarter number 3 is coming out, right? What is it that you're planning to do that you're going to focus on and try to improve upon, right? Just one thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and then maybe we can discuss it going forward also. So, Jazakallah everyone for your time. Thank you so much for joining and listening. And inshallah, I look forward to seeing you all next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.